Hey guys, Professor Bill of Comic Book University and Wonder Woman issue number 54. This was a pretty good issue for all intents and purposes, but I did have a problem here. Let's get into who actually made this comic book first. So this one is called The Enemy of Both Sides, Part 3. Steve Orlando is the writer. Raul Allen and Patricia Martin are the artists. Borja Pindado is on colors. Saida Timo Fonte is on letters. David Yarden did the cover, and the variant cover is by Jenny Friesen. Wonder Woman is created by William Moulton Marston. Here's a mini problem that I have with the comic book. How come H.G. Peter doesn't get any love? What the heck is going on with William Moulton Marston getting everything? He didn't draw Wonder Woman. I'm just saying. H.G. Peter is kind of treated like the Bill Finger of DC Comics. What is up with that? Okay, I'm going to let that slide. This issue. I'll be back next issue and complain about the same thing. The point is, this comic was pretty good. You had Wonder Woman and Artemis show up, and they got Atalanta with them. That's Wonder Woman's great aunt, and it's like, hey, what's up? Or just regular aunt, whatever it is. Anyway, she's like, yeah, we're back. And Artemis's people, which are basically Atalanta's people, she founded the people, the movement and everything. Just like, oh, yeah, wow, you're great, you're awesome, hey, cool. But the leader of the people, they're just like, yeah, screw you. Literally, they shoot her in the head. You think I'm joking? They shot her in the head. She didn't die, which is strange because, well, I guess it depends on which version. I guess Steve Orlando doesn't see them as, for crying out loud, Themyscirians, Amazonians are capable of being shot. Most of the mythology around the Amazonians, the Amazonians, I should say, the comic book version of these people, from Themyscira and whatnot, they can be shot. They've got strong body armor against slashing and cutting weapons, but against piercing attacks, they can easily be shot. Anyway, so this is the reason why they wear the bracelets, to get rid of the bullets. So she gets shot in the head and she seems to be okay. I guess a hit off of her tiara or something like that, whatever. So that was very interesting to see an Amazonian firing again, especially the leader of this, renegade group. Now, I have to admit to not knowing enough about Artemis and her people to really get it. Like, there was enough that I could understand what was happening. And the previous couple of issues, I understood she's from a different group of people. That explains why she was never there in the younger years. Okay, I get that. That's cool. But this issue obviously went a lot deeper into the subject matter, and I felt like I barely knew enough to follow along. So I'm going to actually have to brush up on Artemis and her peeps and see what's what. But basically, Rustam. The last time that I personally had seen Rustam was, I believe it was Justice League versus Suicide Squad. He was part of Task Force 11. Yeah, it turns out that Task Force X was actually Task Force 10, which is like the Weapon X versus Weapon 10 program. Yeah, you get it. Weapon Plus. So, yeah, he was there, and I forget exactly what happened to him. They got rid of him somehow. But he apparently appeared again in Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman had to take him down. Cool, man. So he's here, and the woman in charge of this renegade version of I know it's in here someplace, I just don't feel like looking up what the names were again, of this renegade group of Amazonians. She's just like, yeah, we're going to follow him, and we're going to go after Korak. I know Korak. And like, well, you can't just go on Rustam, of all people. You can't go on one person's word alone, but especially not Rustam. Like, what are you doing? So things get really bad, and there's actually a war that fully happens. And then by the end of this, Wonder Woman shows up in the middle of it, and she's ready to fight whoever is going to cross this imaginary line, basically. That's interesting. I'm interested in seeing that. The thing is that Atalanta got put in a prison, and she's not going to leave unless her people demand her release. Which I guess I get it, but come on, man. This is unacceptable. I don't know about unacceptable. This is just weird. It's too overly complicated. The story in and of itself was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope that this actually does something and creates something memorable, as far as a storyline for Wonder Woman is concerned. That would be cool. Or at least for somebody in this comic, at least, make it something memorable. I got to go back to the art though. The art was very interesting. I really did like the use of colors in this. It was a different take, and for me, it kind of saved the art. I don't mean to disrespect Raoul Allen or Patricia Martin. That's not my goal in life, to insult anybody. Heck, they're doing comic book art, and I draw maybe 3 times a year. So they win. They beat me every freaking time. But I felt that their lack of attention to emotions was really hindering in the comic book. There were 2 emotions in the entire comic book on these people's faces, except for the last page. The last page was, wow, excellent. And, you're going to go out with a bang. So I'm glad that at least on the last page, it can make most of us forget it. The problem is, I also, since I review comic books, I actually go back to the beginning and kind of review again to see if there's some finer point I want to touch on, whatever. And just the faces, man, there were 2 emotions in it. It's like, oh, we're having a serious conversation, or we're kind of making light of something, or we're in the middle of a war. There were 2 facial expressions. And that was really it. It was either a weird kind of surprise, or why the hell are you laughing? You're yelling at each other right now. Why do you have smiles on your faces? So it is what it is. As far as the rest of it, it was perfectly simple. And I mean that in an astounded way. Like, I really enjoyed how the art was it was drawn, it was done. It didn't look like they paid not that they didn't pay too much attention. That's the way wrong thing to say. It looks like they didn't take too much time drawing hello, here's the basic lines. Boom, it's the basic art, so that we're not lingering on the art. We're just seeing it, and it's perfectly acceptable to move on. But the faces where they seem to put a little bit too much detail, but with only 2 different poses, so to speak, expressions, I should say. It just didn't necessarily come off right. But I don't know. For all intents and purposes, the comic book was okay. It was passable. It's not the worst comic book I've ever read. It's not even it's above mediocre for me, but mediocre is like right there looking at it. So it's all right. I'm hoping to see next issue actually do something great. Like, maybe this is not really Rustam. Maybe Rustam is being mind controlled. Maybe everybody's being mind controlled. Maybe I'm being mind controlled. I want to see a really cool story out of this, because I know that this is coming to an end, and I would really like Orlando to go out with some kind of a really cool bang. Personally. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.